Okay, so I drew my little lines to show me where my frame would cover up. So I'm actually composing to the edge of what would be to just the part of the painting that's going to show and not to the whole thing. And yeah, so I have sort of this shape down here, this big shape of the hydrangeas, and then I have that shape right there of that sort of grass on the edge of the field. And I decided I sort of like this thing right here, this little bush. I sort of felt like it kind of kept the painting just from drifting off that edge. So, and then I've got my field. So this is something always to remember, and I see it sometimes in things you guys do, is this, there is a space here. So either I want to be sure there really is a space, or I want to be sure I overlap it and make it come higher. But what I want to avoid is having it just touch that line, because when it just touches that line, it makes it a lot harder to show that it's in front. Or yeah, so, and then I'm just actually going to start, I'm going to go way up here and say, okay, this is that back line of the mountains. And then this is the, okay, I can tell how many there are. So this is sort of, I don't know. You know, I guess if I can't tell, it doesn't matter, right? So, and then this one is in here. And these guys, so I kind of got, okay, so this is that, this is this, and the trees come up more. And this is that little patch of sort of trees without leaves. This is that orange tree. These sort of more yellowy trees, that greenish tree. There's these sort of a red business, other stuff. Yeah, and I guess this is these things must be another layer back, I guess. I know, right? Can you believe it's such a mess? But and I'm probably just not making anything small enough. So you know what I'm doing wrong? I'll just tell you right away so you can not do it yourself. I'm I was trying to put too much stuff in. I should have just started with these bigger shapes instead of like thinking I needed to get everything in at once. I was thinking about how I'm not going to exactly be able to break down all of this into one shape to start with. That's kind of a problem in the fall, is that that because there's so much different stuff going on in the woods, so many just completely different colors, it's just a little harder to mass it in like one would hope. So this flower actually comes above that. So maybe I'm thinking now this needs to be lower. So as you're drawing, it's not like that it's perfect right from the get-go. It's more like each thing you do, each thing you start to add to your picture, each thing you do tells you more. So like when I see, oh, this flower needs to be above there, and then these guys, so I sort of am up too high. And it's kind of hard to know like where to start. When you start your drawing, sometimes it's easier than others. Sometimes there's like a really clear shape that you can find that you can start with. So these are the flower parts. Just want to know where those are. I think it's always a good idea when you're doing flowers to know where they are, because it would like these colors, it would be hard to get these flower colors down on top of the greens. So I want to be sure that I know where my flowers are going to be so that I can keep them, you know, looking flowery and not, you know, kind of muted out by the greens underneath. Okay, so this is really probably not enough to start a drawing. I mean, to start painting, but you know how it goes here is that kind of have to just start painting and try to, because really I do spend a long time on my drawings usually. So, okay, so I'm just going to start with my dark flowers. And almost always if I have flowers in a painting or something like this that's really bright, And especially here, it's in the foreground. I'm just going to go ahead and start with that because I want to be sure that nothing I do in the background interferes with my ability to make these colors in the foreground or the colors of the flowers. So, you know, I might, on some occasions, I might take this color I just used and use it in the trees. But in this case, I want to be sure that I have it where I really need it, which is the flowers. And the other thing about flowers is I don't like start them too wacko. I start them pretty much with what's called local color. And local color is just the color, you know, somebody asks you what color those flowers are and you say, well, they're pink. That's the local color. And then there's the color, the effect of the light on the object too. That's the other kind of color. So I usually try to start things in a kind of a wild way, but not flowers, because you can do things that are like so wild then that you can't kind of get it back. Or like say if you started the pink flowers blue, you might not really be able to make a pink flower. And I pretty much am a realistic painter. So I am trying to make things look like they look, for better or worse. That's what I'm still trying to do. All right, and so then what I'm going to do is the next thing I'm going to do is these the leaves that are right up in here. And you know, actually, I really love to start them with red, so I'm just going to do that. So I just tried it, and you know, this kind of goes absolutely opposite of what I just said, is that you don't want to start other things so weird that your flowers won't show up, but there you have it. I do try to do everything that crosses my mind. So if I think it, I do it. And especially if it makes me nervous, I have to do it. So that's kind of my rule. So I try to avoid having thoughts that make myself nervous because, and that's kind of a joke, but yeah. So whatever it is, if I think I should try it, then I'll just try it, because I always feel like, what have I got to lose here? And you guys have even less to lose than I do. I have a reputation to protect. It's also a joke. So they sold my dog in Barrie. Okay, so the reason I wanted, I'll talk about the dog later, sorry. Okay, the reason I wanted to get these things all going up here, and probably I actually need some things to be even darker in here. I want to be sure that I can make this come forward, and that I want to use my darkest darks now in the foreground and these bright colors. And I don't want to accidentally use like this dark blue in the background somewhere and then have it compete with the flowers in the foreground. And I don't know, this is just this piece was so hard. I can't even get the paper off of it. So that's why I ended up with those sort of jaggedy strokes. Okay, so now the next thing is, like, I'd like to do the sky next, but part of me also feels like I should do the grass because it's touching it, and maybe I can figure that out a little better since it's touching it. So that's kind of like a really good thing we always did in school is you'd say to people, well, I wonder if, instead of saying, I think you should do this, you'd say, I wonder. So anytime I kind of have an I wonder, like, okay, I'm going to try this, but I don't know. I just wonder if it'll work. Oops, I missed a place with my drawing. Because, you know, the answer always is, well, I don't know. I don't know how it'll work. And that's why I just have to try it, and then I'll know if it worked or not. Or, you know, that's the whole thing is, well, did that make it better or did that make it worse? Oh, and I wanted to tell you guys something that somebody brought up to me that I probably haven't mentioned in a long time. And that is that when you're painting, if you have too much light on your work, you'll paint darker than you think you are. So you want to, you might need a lot of light on your pastels. Like right now, I can't actually see very well because the computer, I think it automatically lightens everything up but so anyway, I can't see what I'm doing very well. But you can have more light on your pastels. Or on, if you're doing a setup, you want to have good light on whatever you're painting, but not on your canvas. So or your paper. So if you have too much light on your paper, you'll paint darker than you think you are. And then when you get it out of the studio and you put it somewhere else that there's not that kind of bright light, then yeah, you will not be happy. And that's why when you're actually painting outside, that's why artists use umbrellas and stuff. They don't use them to keep themselves out of the sun. I mean, you could obviously, but the real reason you're using an umbrella is to keep your paper or your canvas out of the sun. Okay, so now, all right, so now I did the easy stuff. We think it's focused. I can't even tell. Who could tell when you paint like a, there, that's better. Okay. Okay, and so I'm just kind of going back, keep going back, and yeah, so I'm just going to try not to worry, just wonder, don't worry. That's a good one. Because anything I do, I can fix it. Yeah. And kind of an important thing, I think, is to not really know what you're doing, so that you don't just repeat yourself, because repeating yourself is kind of, well, let's see, what is repeating yourself all the time? Like what you want to be is a creative, evolving artist, and the way to do that is to take chances and do different subject matters and paint in different places, different seasons, different times of day. So even if some people said they went out and painted, well, it's a lot harder. It is so much harder than painting from a photograph. And some of the things that make it harder is that things are changing all the time. So it's not just sitting there static. So that makes it harder. And that the sun is moving, and that there's so many different effects that you can have when you're outdoors. Where when you paint indoors, there's not that many different things you can try. So even if it's a nightmare painting outdoors, it's worth doing because of how much you learn about. Well, I think I probably told this story before, but I'll just tell it again. When I studied with Henry Hinchy in Cape Cod, when I was, I don't know, I guess I was in college, and I went one summer for a month to study with him because he was at Cape School of Art. It's like really famous. Like some of you I probably told when I first got here, and I met some artists at an art show, and I told them I'd studied with Henry Hinchy. People were just like, oh my God, we've heard of him, but you studied with him. So anyway, we're out there and we're painting these blocks in the sun. Like he had all these different, they were, I think, cereal boxes and stuff painted in different colors. I'm sure he didn't do it. His students did it because they worshiped him. And you would just set up like three boxes painted different colors, and then you would paint them. And so the very first day I was there, I had my 3 boxes, and I started painting them. And I did them as if the light was coming from the side, because that's what I'd always painted, because I painted indoors. I hardly had painted any outdoor paintings. And so I painted what I knew instead of what I was seeing. And so even though I was there for a month, and it was kind of difficult, you know, it was kind of like such a mind-blowing experience. But really, I learned the most important thing on that first day, which is paint what you see, not what you know. And so knowing what you know really gets in the way of what you're seeing. You know, so I had one teacher, he told me, he said, never, ever put green in the sky. Like, that's really a weird rule, I think, because there is green in the sky. And when he had an exhibition of his work in New York at Grand Central Gallery. And when I went to it, he'd painted all over the place. He'd gone, yeah, a lot of different countries, things by the ocean, things in the mountains, but they were all just really the same. The drawing was different, but all the color was just the same. So it was, I kind of wondered, why did he bother to go anywhere? So I just need to redraw a little bit here, because so anytime you're feeling confused, just redraw. I just can't tell. I can't tell what's going on. I think I might have to, can't really tell if there's yet another layer or not. So I just might leave it out. Oops, you're way too big. So this is why I always redraw with charcoal, because, you know, if you make a mistake, you can just cover it back up. It's not like a big deal. But if you draw with a pastel, especially if you draw with a black pastel, it's very hard to cover it. All right, so now I've got it all covered. And so now what I want to try to do is make it better. And okay, so I'm going to try to make it better. So yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do is, I think that probably the kind of the worst part is all through here. So I'm going to see if I can make all that part more. It's all like too dark. And so, yeah, I'm just going to try to see what I can do about that. Also, it's like sometimes it's just too much to have to try to, well, the more things you have to think about, the harder it is, right? So sometimes, like, I can't really think about everything. So yeah, I might get these colors in conflict with these colors, but then when I see it, I can come back and make it better later. So I also have been thinking about this other thing a lot, is that sort of doing everything that you see instead of being kind of more selective. But, you know, I think that for me also, it's pretty hard for me to be selective in the middle of my painting. That especially if you're outside, you just have to kind of like go, go, go. And so you might have to make those selections later, like what things you want to be more in focus and what things you want to be less. Because I say it's a lot to think about. But after saying that, I will also say, I have a friend who wrote a book, an actual real book, and I can't remember the name of it. But in her book, she was the daughter of my teachers, so she paints in their style. And in her book, she does those step-by-step things like I did in my book. And oops, that was the exact same color. But then she shows what, that's the same color too. She shows you how, so she shows you how it looks when she finishes working on it outside, and then she shows you what she does inside to, you know, make it, to finish it. And I have to say, I thought everyone was better before they were messed with indoors. So you have to be careful about that too, because once you're indoors, you can just work the life out of something because there's no time limit. And one thing I do like, what?
You're saying it was better when it was done outdoors before she did any more on it?
Yeah, that's what I thought anyway. I mean, I never told her that. for once, I had some sense of discretion. Yeah, so you just have to be careful if you work on something later because, because you can lose what you had when you started with the spontaneity. Whoa, wow, that just crumbled to dust right in my hand. Let's just see if we can make this in. And the other thing, the thing that's nice about pastels is there is a limit. And oil painting, there is pretty much not a limit. You could decide to work on one oil painting the rest of your life. And you can do that. And pastels, you run out of paper, you run out of surface. So you just can't do that. So that's a nice thing about pastels is that you have to stop and do another one instead of just fussing away the rest of your life on this one painting. And the only reason, I think I told some of you, the reason to keep painting on something is if you think you can learn something from it. And you think if it's gone past where you could actually learn something, then you might as well start something new. And then the other thing is, when something gets too precious to you, then that's also a good time just to go ahead and start something new. Like if you start to feel like, oh my God, I am going to wreck it. And you don't want to wreck it, well then just start a new one. And you can always come back to it later if you change your mind about that. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I do think sometimes you should push it beyond where it's wrecked. Keep going until you do wreck it, but not always. Sometimes it's really, because otherwise it would just be too depressing to always be wrecking your paintings. Well, I guess it's so funny. I just keep trying to figure out. I feel like this light and shade is different on different objects here, but I guess it's not. I mean, I even meant to talk about that it's not really a sunny day. So on sunny days, on cloudy days, you have a lot more purples in it because you don't have that so much blue and yellow. And on a cloudy day, the only shadows are right underneath stuff. So yeah, maybe I just because I knew that I could make that brighter, that field with that yellow, I probably kicked it right up into sunshine. So try not to have rules about stuff, but sometimes if you're kind of, screwed up, it kind of helps to know that if your gray day is looking too sunny, then maybe you need to get rid of some yellows. I think the colors are really complicated in this, so. And I do try a little bit to stay away from what I think is just the perfect color. Because once I've done that perfect color, then what do I do? So it's okay with me if it's not right, which is a good thing since, mostly it's not really right. So I'm never exactly trying to make it perfect. My goal is just see if I can make it better. Okay, cat, do not eat the pastels. The only times I really really needed to use more expensive pastels is on flowers. If I'm not painting flowers, I don't really need my better pastels. And even then, I don't even know if they're. So one thing you want to be sure is, like, I'm just going to sit here and do exactly what I'm telling you not to do, but it's because my painting's not that far along. But it's really tempting. You find a color that works great, and then you use it too much. So you just, what I would do when I was doing a lot of garden paintings is I would, after I used something, I would leave it like sitting a certain way in my box. So I knew I'd already used it and I didn't want to pick it up and use it again. What is the cat doing? I feel like I have to be nice to the cat after having her locked in the bedroom for 2 days with nothing to eat.
What happened to you with your dog?
What?
What happened with your dog?
Oh, my dog died.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That last summer we were in Italy, 2009.
Uh-huh.
She got that, is it called bloat, maybe? Bloat. The most horrible thing I ever heard of.
Yeah.
Like, who even knew there was something so horrible? But Leslie was with her. Leslie took care of her.
Janine, what size is that paper?
12 by 16.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's usually the size I do, Judy, or half this size. I don't really do the great big ones anymore because then I just got too many paintings hanging around the house.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, time for a burn pile. All right. Let's see what we can do here. Oops, sorry. So you could, you can like actually kind of come in and start drawing some leaves now. I don't know if something like, what I do with leaves and stuff is I try to actually look at individual specific leaves. It's not like I'm drawing every individual leaf, but when I do draw leaves, I'm actually looking at the leaves. So I make sure that, well, that's one way to help you avoid repetition. And then the question too is how many leaves do you have to do before you've done enough? And so like out here, a good place to show leaves is on the edges of things.
Yes.
So, because really you can't really see them all that well in the middle. And so always it's kind of with me, it's like, how do I get the most out of the least amount of work?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do always just a suggestion. How much can my suggestion carry the story? Wow, okay, well, never mind. Let's see. So some of you guys are painting along, right?
I'm painting, but I'm just about to tell you that at a certain point, I get so lost that I just start making it up.
Well,
That's good.
is that good or bad?
I have no clue.
Well, does it look better or worse?
Well, I have no clue. I
Well,
can't.
generally speaking, for me, making things up is not that good because I'm not very good at making things up.
But I get lost.
Well, okay, I'm having a hard time knowing exactly what that means, so. I think you're gonna have to show me.
Like, oh my
Like, I know, am
gosh.
I lost? Yes, lost.
Oh my gosh, Janine, what I took my eyes off you and you made a big difference.
Oh,
Shoot.
yeah, that was it. That was the magic. I put in the leaves. I just started putting.
No,
in
it's the purple.
But she's still recording, so you can go watch it later.
Yeah, that's right. I
Oh,
am still
yes.
recording. Usually if you're lost, it means you need to look more, not less. like, I think there's a tendency when you're kind of messed up is, not just you, Michelle, when one is a little messed up, there's a tendency just to keep sort of struggling along without looking back at what you're working from. And so that would be my recommendation, is look more, not less.
Gotcha.
And so it is pretty confusing, but autumn is a confusing thing. So what was I working on? I used so much black. Oh, no, it was that landscape I was working on. It was
Janine, can I make one comment?
Yeah,
The flowers, there's a diagonal that go right where your hand just was, right a little bit further down, tiny bit down there. Now to the left, there's a diagonal that goes straight down instead of the flower coming out like it's making a straight line. I think that's where some of the confusion is. You see what I'm talking about?
no, but I'll see what I can do about it. I kind of know, but this thing, I've got to get rid of some of these pastels. They're all the same. They're all different shapes, but they're all the same colors.
The colors are so beautiful. Oh,
Oh, thanks.
just beautiful.
Well, I'm kind of, because it is so complicated a little bit now, I am using sort of the same color, maybe more than I would normally, just to try to. Okay, so this is back to the field now. I think maybe in real life there was like another tree or something behind here, and I kind of tried to take it out because I did not want it.
I love that green on top of the trees in the background. It's beautiful color.
Oh, thanks. Okay, and then the other thing I was just thinking I should do something about is kind of get things a little darker kind of under here. So there's a dark beat down under. So maybe I didn't start with enough darks. Maybe I was too worrying about stuff too much. Now I have been doing quite a bit of landscape outdoors, and I really painted something that was way too hard for me
Look at that color.
on Thursday.
Love that color.
Judy, you're my favorite.
Well, you know me in color.
Yeah. So you don't use so much, you don't use as many colors on top of each other, do you, Judy? It's kind of,
No,
yeah, see, that's the thing. I have got a lot of pastel on here. A lot.
don't forget I use black paper.
Well, right, yeah. So I just think, it makes sense to me maybe that you wouldn't need to spray as much as I do. All right, I'm gonna come back here and try to do something about this because I don't have any sense of depth here at all. Well, anyway, I was doing this waterfall and I used so much black, which those of you that know me know that I'm always saying, oh, you would never need black in a landscape. But I guess I did. So if you want, you can leave like, why did that come on? You can leave like dark outlines around things, but you might also want to consider, if you were going to leave outlines, is try to find the color that would sort of be the color of the edge, which is kind of a.
Yeah, it seems as if those black lines were why it wasn't going back partly.
Yeah, I bet you're right. think it's still too dark.
That's pretty, very subtle, very pretty.
Thanks. So I don't know if I had to use so much black because I didn't really have the rest of my painting bright enough or what. But maybe if it's on my computer, I'll show it to you. I didn't post it because I was kind of embarrassed. All right, and then this is definitely too kind of brilliant. And so is that. So Leslie was telling me about this little computer game. It's called I Love Hue, H-U-E. And it's a color. It's kind of like you had a bunch of those paint chip things or paints. Yeah, and is that what they're called? Those things you get at the hardware store that show all the different
Chips.
values? Chips, yeah. So it's like you have a bunch of those and they show you what it's going to look like and they fill in a few for you, but hardly any. And then you have to make the progressions of like changing it from purple to green. It's kind of fun. Nobody dies. Okay, that's, I think, a little better. And that's just all we can ask for. So the rule is that warmer colors come forward and cooler colors recede. And the other rule, which, you know, made to be broken rules are, but the other rule is that darks get lighter and lights get darker in the distance.
Say that again.
Lights get darker and darks get lighter as they go further away. So another way to say that maybe you don't have to think about as hard, is that things become more averaged. So, you know, if you were on that faraway mountain, that it would look like this. But when you're here, it looks like that because the lights and darks have just been all averaged into something very subtle. Does that make sense, Michelle?
Sorta. It's like,
yeah.
I spent a lot of time in that cemetery squinting.
Oh, good. Squinting is good.
Yeah.
Which thing, I actually really like painting in cemeteries. I haven't done it in a long time, but which cemetery was it?
Robinson Road. I went with Morgan
Yeah, so why didn't we get to see Morgan's painting of this?
because she's been busy.
What? But she went and painted with you. Why don't we get to see her? What she did?
I don't know. I can't speak for her, but we had a wonderful time.
It's really fun, isn't it?
It was a great day to spend outside in the cemetery. We were in the Walter section. Everyone around, all the stones around us were named Walter.
That was their last name, or they were all Walter first name?
They were all the first names.
It's funny. All right, I gotta do something about this crap. Sometimes you just feel like you're just gonna take something and go everywhere. So it's a little harder to do this in a pastel than an oil painting. In oils, because you can just keep working on them forever, you know, it's not like you come to the end of your rope, which you definitely do in pastels. But so what my teacher, the way he used to say it is you try to get the masses of color, but if you don't get the mass, when you get the mass, and then you try to break it up into smaller things, and then sometimes you lose your sense of a mass, and so then you've got the mess. So what you try to do then is go back and remass it, like I just did with all that dark, and try again to break it apart without, well, you don't want to break it, but you want to add the variations without breaking it, the mass. And then I think it's really hard in the fall because there's so many changes within an area. Yeah, maybe this was too hard. Maybe everything's just too hard. But you know what? If it wasn't hard, why would you do it?
That does make it look more like fall. Earlier, it looked a little bit like spring.
Mm-hmm. Oops, that's probably too much, but you can use a little of it here. One time I was painting in Montpelier up on North Street, I think, and I'd gone way out in somebody's backyard so I could see, I could see downtown and stuff. And I was painting, it was before the leaves had turned green. And I was gonna have all these paintings in a calendar, and they put that painting in as fall because I don't know, the colors before the leaves come out, you know how kind of pink and red the maples all look.
Yes.
So I've also been, just because I don't know, I don't usually get out, I don't have the right time to get out and paint in the morning, or the sort of the best times, or the late afternoon or the early morning. But just trying to kind of look as we're driving around and try to see kind of what the difference is between morning light and afternoon light.
Oh my gosh.
What, is it that bad? Is what I'm doing that bad?
Oh, no, I just picked up a color that just had no business being in my hand.
Well, yeah, sometimes that just happens. I think a lot about the things I say to you guys too. That's the great thing about teaching, is it helps me stay kind of more honest as a painter. And, like, okay, so what? There's all that stuff in there. I don't have to do all that. That's what I keep saying over and over. Just because it's there doesn't mean I have to do it. And then I sit here and I think, oh my God, I haven't put in every single tree that's back there. I did really like these.
Ay.
All right, well, maybe people should just show me what they're doing. I'm feeling concerned.
The
Oh.
mountains in the background go back a lot more now, Janine.
Oh, good. I was hoping so. I tell you, it's a struggle not to just keep painting on the same spot, forever. So you have to kind of really force yourself away, especially if a place is giving you trouble. Then you just feel like you should stay there. And a lot of times by doing that, you make it worse for your painting because, yeah, the colors are so wrong. I've got to find time to work on this situation when we're not in the middle of stuff.
Ay.
Really, because I think it looks really nice.
Oh, thanks. It just looks really different than what
I
I'm
don't
seeing.
know. It looks really nice to me.
Uh,
It looks beautiful. I love it.
you have excellent taste.
Oh, I do. So I have you.
Wow, Maria, that picture of you guys all in front of the fireplace, what a great picture.
That was nice, yeah.
I'm really super jealous of that picture.
Oh, I know.
None of my family, I don't think any of my family has seen Javi or Theo.
Theo, I know. Also, 4 months, my poor dad, it took 4 months to see him. So he is so happy.
He looked so happy. He looked really good.
Oh my God.
After
Gina
this
took a,
becomes-
yeah, Gina took a video of him coming in the house. And,
I saw that too.
oh yeah, that was so nice.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so happy. Oh, Theo he was enjoying talking to Theo. Oh, it was wonderful.
So,
But Theo doesn't like his picture taken, Janine.
oh, I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we had to play a game with a countdown, so. And that worked. We counted down from 10. We were all of us were. It was pretty funny. It was cute. He was having fun. I think that's the only way we got the picture.
Right. Well, he's definitely having more and more his own opinions.
Yes. He's so cute.
So like here now, maybe this is too much like that, a split, you know, and bowling, just what I just did probably made that too competitive, I guess, with maybe I'll just keep it all kind of the same.
That's good.
Emily, are you working on your painting or are you talking to me?
No, in fact, I'm sort of impressed that I'm still awake. Not that.
Probably told you about that thing when I used to teach at Basin Harbor, and after lunch I'd always do a demonstration and I'd turn around and people would just be out cold in those hours.
Oh, yeah, I
Now,
usually,
yeah.
but I didn't, I just had sort of a broken up evening today, so now I can finally come and enjoy and
Oh, good.
just, watch.
I just can't believe I was in Vermont this morning.
I know, gosh. Well, I can't believe you managed to turn it around, this painting enough it's really amazing what you can do to turn stuff around. It's amazing to me.
Well, I'm thinking about that now. What does she mean? I turned it
No,
around.
no, I know.
So terrible. And now
That's what, I apologize. No, I'm just always impressed with how well you can,
how well I paint.
yeah, because for one thing, the rhododendrons now are just wonderful. They're popping out. And you started, I thought, how in the heck is she ever gonna get this thing done?
I think they're hydrangeas, aren't they?
I mean, they're hydrangeas, of course, whatever those things are.
Whatever.
you know.
That's right.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch the evolution of it this far all in one session.
Really? Do you think
Yes.
it's better?
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Well,
it's better to
yeah,
watch.
because it's changed so much.
I know when I come back, if I have to wait, a week and I come back to it, it's really hard for me to get back into it. So
You're
this
gonna have to do something with that back field. It's a little too white. It may just be the reflection of the light
No,
on
it's
your
too
painting,
light.
but I'm such a good artist, Janine. I can tell you how to improve.
And I love it when people tell me what to do. I don't, but you're right. I mean, I really appreciate help, but I'm not very gracious about it. Is that better, do you think? I think that's
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
I think I need to add something even darker to it. Was this what I used?
I feel like that white is closer to the tree line and you've got it in the center of the field. And
Oh my goodness.
All right, I kind of want to just see what other people have been working on. And this is too, it's,
I'm torturing myself.
you're torturing yourself? I'm not so really surprised. Okay, so,
Oh, yeah, I like that a lot.
it's everything on the screens, but maybe it's not really brighter. Maybe I'm making this up. I don't know, like these look way too bright now. Too. But then I don't want to knock it all so far down that, but now I could probably bring these up even more. See, once again, probably, is somebody just send me something from this class? Is that? I mean, I don't want to look at my phone if it's just, oh my God, yes, tons of stuff. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Okay,
Gorgeous.
Thanks. Okay, so just a
Yeah.
minute.
much better.
Good.
Well done.
Thank you. Guys are nice.